Hey everybody, it is me, Danny, and I have a live for you tonight. So hopefully you caught my half-hour warning and you'll be able to join me live. If you are watching on the replay, go ahead and comment for me replay so that I know who's live and who is catching it later. That would be awesome. Thanks so much. And as you join, why don't you think of one word, just one word, to describe how you are feeling in this current moment about the circumstances that you're in right now. You're what's going on, you know, not to dance around it, but the coronavirus. Most of us have some kind of shelter in place or lockdown orders. We're all practicing social distancing, hopefully, and self-quarantining and all the things. And so as you join, just put down one word that describes how you're currently feeling about all of that. And be honest, it's fine, whatever it is. I would love to hear what your one word is. I'm going to tell you mine at the end of this. So don't worry, I will share, but I'm not going to share right now. But I would appreciate that. So for those of you that don't know me, if this is your first time, my name is Danny Lozano, and I am the business owner of the Drinking Buddies, which is a community that I am building of people who are just relentless dream chasers, have big goals in their life, want extraordinary things, want to fulfill their life purpose, and they want to have a hell of a time doing it, meaning that they want to have a lot of fun. My brand is all about business, beauty, and beer, and those are just three things that I love, in addition to family and really inspiring others to dream outside their current circumstances. So my community group will be up in the next couple of days. If any of you are interested, I hope all of you are interested in checking that out. Let me know, drop something in the comments just to tell me that you're interested. And it's just, again, it's going to be about all those things. And I love community where we can interact and we can inspire one another. We can, talk about raising kids or living in this world or, breaking out of the 9-to-5 mentality, all of those different things. I would love to have you a part of my group. And the fact that you're here and watching this message now means that there's some dream in your life that you feel is worth chasing, and so I think you should check it out. So I am going to tell you tonight about a story. If you've watched any of my talks before, you know that typically I follow a little bit of a structure. So, or maybe you don't know, and I'm pulling back the curtain a minute and telling you, but typically what I do is I give you a theme, something that I'm thinking about, and then I give you a life example for me on something that kind of shows how that theme plays in real life. And then I tie it into a lesson, and I normally give you like 1 to 3 action items to take and apply that lesson into your life. That's kind of how I like to structure my talks. Today is going to be that way. I promise you there is going to be a lesson, and there's going to be an action item at the end. So if that is your thing, if you like to take notes, if you like write down these things to go implement them, great. We are going to get there. But we're going to have a little bit of fun getting there. Tonight, I am going to tell you a story, a real life story of something that happened to me in, I don't know, 2000 and maybe 2000, maybe 2001, maybe 99. I don't know, something in that vicinity of my life. With my family. So I'm going to tell you the story. So buckle in, grab yourself a drink. This is going to be, I will say, I don't like to overly hype things, but when I have shared this story in the past, most people find it quite entertaining. And those people that have known me for a while always say, how have I known you for this long? And I'm just now learning about this. So strap in. This is going to be a bumpy ride. So my story takes place, I'm going to just adjust this down a little bit because I'm going to sit back in my chair here and get real comfortable in my storytelling. And I should also warn you that if you're looking for the motivational insight as I dive into this story, it's going to take a minute to get there. So just enjoy it. Just enjoy it for some entertainment. So my family every year used to go on family vacations. And when I say family, I was young. And so my mom, my dad, and my little brother, who is 2 years younger than me, we would all go on typically some kind of family vacation, normally during the summer. And that was just kind of something that we had really lucky as we were growing up. My parents really treasured travel. And so we got to do a lot of that. And so this particular year, and gosh, I wish I could remember, I feel like I'm imagining the pictures, and I feel like it was probably 2001, so I was maybe 19 or 20. I was probably about that age. And my brother would have been 17 or 18. And my mom, back in this day, so the internet was still a relatively new thing. Like now, if we want to travel, we like Google, like, where's the coolest place to go this year? And like Google tells us, and we just book it. But that wasn't the way that this was back then. I know it's really hard to understand that. She had a travel agent she would call. And my parents owned a timeshare, and so they would trade that in with like points or something, and they would go and whatever, and we go to different places. So she called her timeshare agent, and the timeshare agent told her that the place to go to right now, the destination, was the Dominican Republic. So my mom said, great, booked us at an all-inclusive. We didn't know much about it, and that was it. She told us we're going to the Dominican Republic. They're supposed to have cool beaches. We're staying in an all-inclusive, food. Alcohol was included, so maybe I was 21. Or maybe the Dominican Republic drinking age is probably 18. I don't know. So our first point of concern as we were making this trip, my mom is very frugal. If she's watching, which she always does, love you, Diane. I call her mom, but if you see her in the comments, I just wanted you to know her name was Diane. Love you, Mom. So my mom is very frugal. Some may explain it as being cheap. And when she was going to look at the airfare, there were two airports in the Dominican Republic. There was one in where I believe was Santiago, and then there was a smaller airport over where we were staying, which was on the north part of the island. If you know anything about the Dominican Republic, there's some mountains, and then there's Haiti. So they kind of share an island. And it would have been smart for us to fly in to the northern airport because it was close to the resort. I think they had like even a shuttle. You could get a taxi. It was like a 10-minute ride, in and out, super easy. But it was small, and small means more expensive. So my mom found out through whatever kind of sorcery she used at the time that if you flew into Santiago and you rented a car, you could then drive it to the north part of the island, and then there was like a place you could drop off the car there. You wouldn't even need to drive it back necessarily. And that would save us a pretty significant amount of money to fly 4 people into Santiago than the northern airport. So even with the car rental, no questions asked, my mom was like, absolutely, that's what we're doing. Books it. So as we're on the plane, and my mom is kind of telling us this plan of like how this is all going to go down, she tells us something like, and it's been a while, guys, so the details of the story might be a little foggy, but I promise you the point is crystal clear. So she tells us that it's about 30 miles from Santiago to the resort, but we have been told it will take like 4 hours or 3 hours in the car to get there. So math-wise, that makes no sense to us. We can't figure out for the life of us why a 30-mile drive would take 3 or 4 hours, but it's a foreign country. We don't know. We'll figure it out when we get there. What's the worst that could happen? The famous last words from anybody, right? What's the worst that could happen? If you've ever caught yourself saying what's the worst that could happen, why don't you go ahead and put an emoji in the comments? Let me see how many people have been found themselves in that predicament. So we get to the airport. The first thing that we notice, this is it was pre 9/11. Yeah, it had to have been. Yeah, I mean, I guess obviously it was, but maybe it wasn't. I don't know. Not that that's important, but it's just a weird timing as I kind of think about it. So we get off the airport, and in the airport, they tunnel us into like this corridor, and on top, like there's like the first floor, and then there's a second floor of like these long, like almost like balcony things, and there are just armed military men like pointing what in my mind were AK-47s down at us as we like funneled through this tunnel. So that was our first kind of experience that this is not the place we're used to, but cool. This is fine. This is cool. So we go to the rental car place. I feel like that was pretty easy to find. and we get our rental car, and it's a van. It's a minivan. So if you imagine, there's my dad driving and my brother. So my brother's the navigator, dad's in the driver's seat, brother is in the navigator. And then there's a bench seat where me and my mom are sitting, you know, with the old school sliding van door, not the kind that you push the button and it opens. Like, this is an old school van. So, you know, you slide it shut. And then in the back, there's room for a third row, but there isn't a third row. This will become very important later in the story. So that's where we put all of our suitcases and everything, right? So it's just flat back there in this van. And we set on with our map, because you don't have Navigator, guys. There's no Google Maps, there's no Navigator, there's none of that when we were in the Dominican Republic. So we get in our van, my brother's got his map, my dad's driving, and we are like setting forth on this, you know, Stefan, my maiden name, Stefan family journey. And an hour goes by, an hour and a half goes by, 2 hours have gone by, and we have not left the city of Santiago. It is a freaking maze. Like, the map doesn't make any sense. The streets we're looking for aren't the streets in the place. The streets that we're seeing aren't on the map. There are merchants and people everywhere, like traffic, like we've never seen people, you know, on like little like motorcycles, like zooming in and out of the traffic. As we stop, there are people walking up and trying to sell us things through the car window. It's just, it's pure chaos. We have no idea what's going on. We have no way, like there is nothing. Like we have nothing. And it has started to rain a little bit and we don't know where we're going. So we're all getting kind of frustrated. And we're at a stoplight, guys. Now I know the story is going to get to a point where you're like, this didn't happen. I promise you I couldn't make this up if I tried. Light. And this guy pulls up next to us. And he must have seen my dad with the map, and he kind of rolls down his window, and my dad looks over and he goes, "Hey, where are you going?" And we tell him, "We're going to this place." And he goes, "So am I. I can take you. Follow me." So we're like, we're so lucky. Like, that's great. He's going too. So this is cool, right? So at this point, my mom and I are frustrated, and so we've decided we're going to take naps. So we have climbed over the bench seat, and we are laying now in the back with the bag. So you just see my dad and my brother in the car. We're just hanging out back there. I don't know. So we get to a toll. So we follow the guy, he gets in front of us, and we get to this toll thing. And the guy in front of us pays the toll, and he goes forward, and then we come up. And my dad goes to pay the money, and the guy says, "Your toll's been paid for," but the guy's like still in front of us, right? Like he hasn't gone anywhere. So like we're here, and he says, "Your toll's been paid for." So we're like, this country's amazing. Like this nice guy, he's helping us to our resort. He paid our toll. Like we love it here. Now remember, I asked you just a minute to put in the comments an emoji if you've ever had that thought of what's the worst that can happen. So you know then typically what happens after we get to that place. So the guy gets back in his car after we thank him, and like he hasn't drove off yet, so we're like still kind of waiting. Doesn't feel unusual at this point, when all of the sudden the door of our van pulls open, and 3 full-blown, head-to-toe dressed local military men jump into our car, take up the entire bench seat. I mean, they've got guns and all, and they shut the van door, and they're just sitting there. And the 4 of us are like, what is happening? Is this our life? Like, what are we being kidnapped? Are we like, what is going on here? Like this. Ugh. And then the guy we're following drives off. And so my dad drives, and like we're kind of in a state of shock. So he's just driving, like just forward, like just driving. And the road is muddy, and the rain is starting to come down at this point. And my mom is yelling. I remember her being like, "Dennis, what are you doing? Like, what are we doing, Dennis?" And so my dad like pulls over, and he's like, "Get out of our car." And the guys just kind of look at him like straight faced. And he's like, get out of our car. And they don't say anything. And then they start speaking to us in Spanish, and we don't speak Spanish, and they clearly don't speak English. And so my dad, I remember, gets out of the car and like walks around, like opens the van door and is like, get out of the car. And like, they're not even humoring us. It's like, they don't have any idea. They're like staring at him. They're not making a scene. They're not doing anything. They're just three grown men, huge, full-on army fatigues, carrying guns, very fancy, expensive, heavy-looking guns, sitting in the bench seat of our rented minivan in a foreign country. So my dad gets back in the car, keeps driving. And this road doesn't have anywhere to like turn off on, so we just figure we're just gonna follow this road out into the middle of nowhere with these army men in our car. Like, at this point, we're like 4 hours in. We have no idea what we're doing. The guy that we were following is gone. Like, there's just nothing. And I remember my mom and me being so panicked because we think in our mind, like, are we gonna be like raped? Are we gonna be murdered? Like, what is happening? And I remember so vividly my mom taking the cash that we had brought with us and like shoving it down her pants because she thinks we're going to be robbed. And so maybe this way they won't take our money. And my like 20-year-old mind is like, Mom, like, they're probably going to find that. Like, I'm free. That is where our level of panic is right now. So Dad and brother are in the front seat and driver's seat and passenger seat, driving straight on this dirt road in the rain in a foreign country, trying to read a map. And Mom and I are laying in the back of the minivan with all the luggage, and these three military men who only speak Spanish are in our van. So we see a gas station up ahead. It's like been an hour. Like, so if you're keeping track, we're like 5 hours in on this car right now. And we see a gas station. So, and my mom is like freaking out, yelling at my dad. And my mom and my dad get along great. They have an amazing relationship. So don't take this the wrong way. It's just, this is like a high stress situation. I'm not even sure what my brother is doing. I'm sure, thinking back on it, he was probably secretly crying up in the passenger seat, which I do not blame him. I was bawling. I was legit bawling. Like, we're going to die. I mean, I was making no excuses for my behavior. So we get to this gas station, and my dad goes into the gas station and finds somebody who speaks English. They speak both Spanish and English. So he explains the situation and says, will you come out and talk to these guys and get them out of our van? So he comes out, opens the van door, talks to them in Spanish. They talk back. A little bit more dialogue, a little bit more. And he turns to my dad and he says, this is fine. They'll ride with you. And my dad's like, no, this is not fine. They need to get out. And so he like talks a little bit more. He goes, no, they paid for this ride, and so they are going to ride with you. And that's when we realized that what we think happened is the guy we met must have arranged to take these military guys to somewhere where we were going. And when he saw us, it was just an easy way to tell these guys, there's your ride. Tell us to follow that road, and he pieced out with whatever money. So no wonder he paid for our toll, right? And so my mom is like, this is not okay. This is not okay. My dad's like, I don't know what to do. And the gas station attendant's like, this is fine. Like, this is cool. They're nice. They like you. They're going to the same place. Like, why is this an issue? And these three military guys are just sitting there holding their guns, like watching the whole thing unravel. Like, I don't even know. So then my dad's like, okay, well, I'm going to take a picture of these guys because if they rob us or worse, we might need to be able to like explain who they were. So he gets out his camera. I think it was like a little disposable camera. Maybe it was a nice camera. I know my dad was probably a nice camera, but not like your cell phone like that. We didn't have cell phones, guys. We might have had a flip phone with us, but nothing fancy. This is, again, remember, I'm thinking this was like 99 to 2001, somewhere in that window. And when my dad holds up the camera to take the picture, the three fully dressed, armed military men jump out of the van, take my dad's camera, hand it to the gas station attendant, and pose with my pops. Like, all of them in a line. I kid you not. I will post a picture of it later today. I still have it. And they're just like, this is just cool. This is, and then as soon as the picture is taken, all three of them hop right back into that van. Like, okay, photo op is done. Back to the ride. And so we're like, they're probably not too bad if that's how they pose for pictures. So get back in the van. So the gas station attendant's like, can I get you guys anything? And my mom's like, yeah, I need some coffee. So he's like, okay, I'll get you some coffee. So we get back in the van. The guy comes back with his coffee, with the coffee. My mom takes like one sip of it. It is straight up Kahlua that he heated up in the microwave. Like he was like, give the white blonde woman some alcohol. Like she needs to calm the fuck down. So he gives her some alcohol, sends us on our way. Another hour goes by. We're driving down this dirt road. It's now pouring rain, by the way. And so we're 6 hours in on this 30-mile car ride. And we're going maybe, I don't know. I'm in the back, so my judge of the speed is probably a little off, and I'm going from memory. But let's say 15 to 25 miles an hour slow. When apparently we got to the stop that guy number one needed to be at because he opens the door and just jumps on out. And then his friend scoots over because now there's more room, and they shut the door. No words were said, no mention of anything. That guy is done. That was his ride. So there he goes. So we're like, this can't get any weirder. So now we're sure we're lost. And there's another gas station. Keep in mind, it's been like, we're now like on hour 7. And there's another gas station. And so we decide we're going to go in and call the resort because maybe they can help us figure out how to get there. And we all go in. At this point now, like these two guys are just with us. Like it is what it is. They go in too to like shop for stuff. And in fact, one of them wants to get strawberry soda, a 2-liter bottle of strawberry soda. And I'm standing with them at this point, guys. I don't even know why. It's like they're part of our family. And I'm like, okay, this is fine. So we're like picking out soda together. And I remember he takes this 2-liter bottle of strawberry soda out of the refrigerator and like turns to me and I don't really know, drops it. For whatever, it just slipped out of his hands. It drops, it explodes everywhere. And so now I am covered in strawberry soda. It was like a strawberry soda explosion and I'm covered in it and it's gross. And so I'm pissed. And the resort, apparently on the island back in 2000 or whatever, when it rains, the phones don't work. So we actually were able to use the phone at the gas station to call the resort, but they didn't answer. Their phone lines were dead. You just got like that fast, busy tone that probably none of us remember anymore, but that was a thing back then. So the gas station person like kind of helps us figure out like where we're going to go. So great. All of us get back into the van. I now have the addition of strawberry soda. And one of the guys must have decided that he didn't trust we knew where we were going because he walks back to the van, decides not to get in, and like just walks about his business. And I remember we all just kind of watched. His friend jumps in. So friend sits in, closes the door, gun in his lap, face forward, like ready to go. And friend just kind of walks off. And we were like, should we wait? Like that's where we are now, guys. Like these guys that hours ago we thought might murder us, we're now like, should we wait for him? Like, does he need to use the bathroom? Like, I don't know what to do. So we waited like 5 minutes maybe. He didn't come back. Military guy didn't seem too worried about it. So we drove on. And it took us about another hour. At this point, I'm sticky. Like if there was ants, I'd be covered in them. I'm like sticky from like the soda. And we've been in the car for 8 hours, which we had a flight before then. And our adrenaline has gone so far off the roof and back. Like there's just no words to explain how we're feeling. And I remember my dad said, well, let me tell you in a minute. So we get to the resort. We finally find it. Bellhop comes out to greet us. Our military friend kind of gives us a salute and just walks off. That was that, and that was done. And then there they went. And we went on to have a great family vacation. There was still some weird, I won't go back to the Dominican Republic. I've heard people go and they love it, and that's awesome. I'm just a little scarred, so I'm not going to do that. But it was actually a really, really fun family vacation. So I told you, this is I had to take you through the story to get to where we're at now. So in that first hour or so, when we were with the military men, before we got to the first gas station where we took the picture, when everybody's in a panic, when my dad is driving, my brother is crying. Sorry, Deej, if you weren't crying, you were being manly and praying maybe in the passenger seat. My mom is like threatening to divorce my dad as if like she even thinks we're going to survive to go that far, and stuffing cash down her pants. And I'm thinking, like, I am bawling, full on hysterics. Okay. That's where we are. And these 3 military men with their big guns are sitting in our rental car. And I remember my dad saying, I don't remember the year very well. I don't remember really what these guys look like all that well. There are small details that I remember, like the strawberry soda and the Kahlua, but crystal clear, I remember my dad saying, look on the bright side, guys. Someday this is going to make a really interesting story to tell people about. And my mom was like, shut up, Dennis. Like, no. And I'm like, we're not going to live to tell it. And my brother's like, please God, right? But that was what my dad said. And I, to this day, I should have asked him. I was telling him about this the other night, but I don't know if in his state of mind, if that's really what he was thinking about. Like, at least it's a funny story. Or if he was just trying to say anything he could to calm us down because of how panicked and frazzled and freaked out we were. But that is what he said to us, is at least someday we'll have a really interesting story to tell people. And ever since that vacation, I have retold this story thousands of times. Like, it's one of those great stories if you're telling a story and it's like your people are trying to tell if you're lying or telling the truth. It's a great icebreaker. It is a great bar story. It is just a fantastic story to share with people. And I will tell you, in the time, I thought it was the worst possible thing that could have happened. But I am so grateful for that experience that I got to have with my family. And I'm pretty sure, at least in the people that I know, I'm one of the few people who's ever had an experience like that. So that's the story, right? And I was thinking about it recently. Like I told you, my parents were actually visiting when the coronavirus got really serious, and all of these things, like restaurants started closing down and schools shut down and all of that. And so they ended up going home because they didn't want to, they were just worried about being able to fly home. So they went home last week. But before they left, my dad and I were talking about that moment. And I said, you know what? Through everything that happens with this coronavirus scare and the world being shut down and schools being closed and everybody having to scramble to work from home, and, toilet paper being sold out off the shelves and hand sanitizer. And I mean, think about the world as you're living it right now and how different it is than even like March 1st, right? Like, I mean, seriously, I'm trying to think about, let me look at my calendar here. So on March 7th, yeah, this is great. On March 7th, I was a part of an event being hosted with my Isagenix team called a Super Saturday, where I spoke on stage and got to deliver a motivational speech that was a defining moment of my life, if I'm being honest. It was really cool. And then I got to have a girls' night and celebrate my friend Casey because she was going to get married in 2 weeks. And so we were celebrating. We threw her a surprise bachelorette party. That was on March 7th. That was less than 20 days ago. And now the idea of me speaking at an event in front of people that are really in front of me. I mean, we had maybe 100 people in a small venue. Like that? No, it's not happening anytime soon. Celebrating my friend's bachelorette party, who, by the way, she did end up getting married. Congratulations to the Kramers. But I was in her wedding as a bridesmaid, and I was unable to attend because of everything that was happening. My husband is working from home now. Luckily, we still have his job, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that have been laid off or have been, shut down, or small business owners who are trying to figure out how to afford, their rent. And the thing is that none of us got any notice that this was happening. Like, we knew coronavirus was on the horizon and all of that, but it wasn't like we were told, okay, in 30 days, we're going to shut down the world, so make sure you're ready. Like, some of these businesses, it was like, here's what's happening, shut your doors by 5. Like, there was no parents out there. I'm lucky. My job allows me to work from home and have a flexible schedule. I work for myself, so it's great. My boss is awesome. So when my parents got the when my kids got the notification that school was canceled, like we had a day. Like it was like Thursday night, I think, that they said schools are going to be closed. We're not sure when we're reopening. They can come on Friday and then figure it out, right? And everybody just had to figure it out. And this is nobody's fault. We're in unprecedented times. But everybody's worlds have been tipped upside down. And I know personally, I carried a lot of anger, stress, frustration, and poor me mentality over the last week or so. Just about everything going on. I am an extrovert to the, as high as you can get on the chart. Not being able to see my friends is crazy to me. Canceling my parents' trip that they had planned, having to cut that short, crazy to me. Not being able to even just go grab coffee with somebody, like this is not a world I want to live in. It is one I understand is necessary and I'm willing to do that. But if I had my choice, I would not pick this, I know some of you are maybe introverts out there and you're like, hey, I'm having the time of my life and kudos. I'm so excited for you. I'm not struggling really bad. And so when me and my dad were talking about it and it reminded me that he said, you'll have a really great story to share with people sometime. I thought, we're living that again right now. Not my Dominican Republic car ride. That's not it. But, there are defining things that happen in your life that people will someday want to know, what were you doing during the coronavirus shutdown, shelter in place of 2020? Like, what was that time like for you? You think about when your kids grow up. Like, my kids right now are in pre-K and the first grade. So when they get to be in high school and they're taught about the coronavirus of 2020 and how that shut down the United States and caused, worldwide panic, they're going to come home one day and they'll be like, Mom and Dad, like, what did we do? Like, remind us, like, what was that like? Because their brains are only going to remember, like, some of the details, right? They're not going to remember all of it. And this will be something that you will talk about probably for the rest of your life with your grandkids, your great-grandkids, your coworkers, at a bar, when everything goes back to whatever ends up being the new normal, because I'm a firm believer, I don't think that we'll probably go back to normal as we knew it. I think there's a lot of changes that are going to happen, and honestly, for probably the better as we go through this. But when life settles, and we feel things come back and we get back into our routines and we back to our work and back to, businesses opening up and being able to go sit at a bar, and years pass, right? Years pass. So when I got back home from the Dominican Republic and I retold the story, it was still told from a place of like fear, even though I had survived it, but it was like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Now when I look about it, it's like one of my favorite family memories. And it's crazy, I know, but we didn't die and we weren't in any danger. We were in perceived danger, but obviously it was fine. And it is one of my favorite memories. And I wouldn't trade it for anything. Like, I would not trade it. So at some point, there's going to be enough distance in time between March of 2020 and you recalling what you did during the shutdown. And I want to encourage and urge each and every one of you, as stressed as you might be right now, and as depressed as this might make you, and how much fear you are probably holding, and how much anger you might have towards how others are reacting, and how much concern you might have for how the powers in office are handling it, and all of these negative things that are entering your mind. And I'm not saying that they're unreasonable and that they shouldn't be there, because when I was in that minivan with those guys, I thought my life was over. So I get it, right? Like, that when I think about it and put myself back in that van, but now I can reflect on it and from a place of like joy, recall the story. You will be able to do that again when you talk about what you were doing in March of 2020. So as you're living it today, I want to encourage you to create memories that are worth sharing. Some of you are at home with your kids and you haven't seen them every day, 24/7, for this long since before you can remember. I mean, honestly, with my son and daughter, I as a full-time working mom before this, I don't think since my daughter's been 8 months old that I have spent this much time with her. Once I went back to school from maternity leave. With my son, he's been, probably since his maternity leave, because even now that I've been home, he's in school. Like, I am getting to know my kids on a whole different level. One of the things I've been doing every day is playing Nintendo Switch Super Smash Brothers, Ultimate Super Smash Brothers with my son. I hate Nintendo, guys, and I hate fighting games. This has nothing to do, but his little face, he loves this stuff. And the joy that he has, like, he doesn't need to know that we're all locked in here because there's some crisis going on outside in the world. He's 7 or almost 7. But he does know that for whatever reason, his mom is playing Super Smash Brothers with him at night. And that is a memory that he will carry with him. So I am confident 10 years from now when people are asking him when he is 17, hanging out, probably my kid drinking a beer. No, I'm just kidding. And his friends are like, what were you doing? He's going to be like, you know what? It's weird. I don't remember much about the virus, but I remember playing Smash Brothers with my mom, and it was awesome. So think about that. Whatever your circumstances are, if you're living by yourself right now, get to know yourself better. Do some self-meditation, do some self-development, pick up yoga, develop a hobby. Like, make this be the time that, because you weren't able to rely on outside distraction to pull you away from discovering something that could be new for you, maybe that's when you discovered your hobby or your passion or your purpose in life. But you have to be willing to explore it, and you have to be able to let go of the negativity long enough to take advantage of the story. Don't let all of the negative stuff be the thing you're remembering 10 years from now. This is an opportunity that we all have, a priceless, incredible opportunity that we all have. And I just want to make sure that you, my fellow dream chasers, are able to take advantage of it. That's the story for this tonight. I hope that was helpful for you. I would love to hear any feedback or comments that you have. So you can direct message me through Facebook, or you can email me at Dani, D-A-N-I, at drinkingwithdani.com. We're all drinking buddies here. And I would love to hear how maybe this turned around your view and how you're going to spend these next 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 days getting to make the memories that are going to be worth retelling in 2030 when someone asks you what you were doing during the coronavirus shutdown of 2020. Have a great night, guys. And as a reminder, for those of you that don't know me, I am Dani Lozano. I am the business owner of the Drinking Buddies, and I am on a mission to change the world one drink at a time. And so if there is something in your life you're looking for, I am the ultimate problem solver or solution finder. I would love to help you discover what maybe a solution is for you, so reach out to me. And also, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I am going to be creating a Facebook community for all of my drinking buddies and dream chasers. If that is something that you're interested in, you can drop a comment below or send me a message, and I'll make sure to let you know as soon as that group is up and running. But as you can tell, I've got nothing but time on my hands, so I'm going to make this that time that I created that community of people that went on to change the world. I'd love to have you be a part of it. Cheers, guys. Have a great night.